Hey, what's up gamers? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into Paradox and breaking down the different races you can choose in the game. We've got three main ones to talk about: Quincy, Soul Reaper, and Hollow. Now, each of these races has its own unique vibe and playstyle, so you're going to want to pick the one that suits you best. And get this, when you start the game, you get to choose your race right away. But don't worry, it doesn't stop there. Each race has its own evolution paths that you'll unlock as you progress. Now, let's get into the fun part. Hollows, they've got the most complex system for unlocking their additional forms, so if you're into grinding and earning those power-ups, that might be your jam. Soul Reapers, on the other hand, keep it simple with just one variant, so it's a solid choice if you want something straightforward but powerful. And then there's Quincy. This one is a solo act, no other forms, just pure focus. So stick around because we're about to rank these bad boys from strongest to weakest in our Paradox race tier list. You won't want to miss this. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking races in Paradox. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The races in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Fishbone. Alright, so let's dive right into the underdogs of Paradox, the D-tier races. Now, if you're a fan of picking the dark horse and grinding your way up, these might catch your eye. Might. But honestly, these races are the ones you start with, and let's be real, they're not winning any strength contests early on. They're like the starter Pokemon that nobody wants, but somehow ends up in your party anyway. And sure, they've got potential after you pump in a ton of upgrades and evolution, but for the most part, they're as useful as a paper sword in a rainstorm. Take Fishbone, for instance. Yeah, that's right, it's the first race in the Hollow progression line. And it's not exactly the kind of race that's going to make you feel like a powerful warrior when you pick it. Think of it as the kid that gets picked last for dodgeball. But here's the catch. Because it's the base of the Hollow progression, it's like your starting block. The faster you gather those precious soul points and evolve, the quicker you'll be able to break out of the maze zone and actually start doing some damage. So, if you find yourself stuck with Fishbone, don't sweat it. Just level up as fast as you can and keep moving. But look, let's not sugarcoat things. There are some races in this tier that no amount of evolution can save. These lineages are basically just filler options. Even if you pour in all your resources, you're still gonna find them lagging behind. My advice? Avoid those like you'd avoid a boss fight when you're low on health. The races in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Menoscar and Quincy. Alright, so let's dive into the C-tier races in Paradox, where things are well, let's just say they're not exactly top-notch, but hey, they've got potential, right? Think of these races as the training wheels of your journey. They're not glamorous, but they're part of the process. You'll probably breeze through these at the start of your adventure, so use them as a stepping stone and keep your eyes on the prize. The goal here is to evolve quickly and move on to the cooler stuff. Take the Menoscar, for example. It's the second form in the Hollow evolution line. Yes, that big towering Menos Grande you see wandering around. It's a step up from the Fishbone, but not by much. Think of it as the beginning of your Arrancar saga. Sure, it's not the flashiest, but it's necessary. The Menoscar is like the awkward teenager phase of your Hollow life. It's all about grinding and evolving until you hit Adjucar, the next big thing. Now, let's talk Quincy. This one's a bit of a one-way street. It doesn't split off into anything else, so it's kind of a what you see is what you get situation. And yeah, that's why it's hanging out in the C tier. It's pretty straightforward, maybe too straightforward. If you're looking for variety, this race might not be for you. But hey, some people like simplicity. If you do find yourself stuck as a Quincy, my advice, make the most of it, but don't be afraid to switch things up when you can. The races in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ajuchas and Soul Reaper. Ah, the B-tier races, the unsung heroes of the middle ground. These are the ones you'll often find yourself playing when you're just getting your feet wet, and you know what? They're not half bad. But let's be real for a second. There's a whole world of better options out there. If you're eyeing that sweet, sweet A or even S-tier power, don't get too comfortable here. B-tier is that cozy pit stop on your journey, not the final destination. Take the Ajuchas race, for example. It's part of the Hollow progression line, and if you've been grinding your way through the ranks, you'll know it's the next step up from Menoscar. It's a solid upgrade, more muscle, more power, and overall, just more intimidating. But here's the thing, it's also the most common Arrancar variant, which means while it's stronger than your previous forms, it's not exactly unique. It's like having a reliable car that gets you from point A to B, does the job, but doesn't exactly make you feel like a boss. Then we've got the classic Soul Reaper. Now, these guys are like the bread and butter of the game. It's the foundation for the Soul Reaper race, and honestly, it's got potential. But, and it's a big but, it's outclassed by the later stages of the Hollow race progression. It's almost like when you're playing a class that you know could be amazing, but you're stuck in the starter zone. You're not losing out by playing it, but if you're aiming for the top, you'll want to level up and evolve ASAP. So don't settle just yet. There's always room for growth. The races in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Vasto Lorde. Alright folks, let's talk about those A-tier races that might not be the cream of the crop, but they're still absolute powerhouses. Now, you know how it goes. Sometimes you don't always get to roll with the best of the best right away, and that's where these A-tier legends come into play. These races are like that trusty second choice that you can absolutely dominate with while you're working your way up to the top. Don't underestimate them, they pack some serious punch. Take the Vasto Lorde, for example. It's the second to last evolution in the Hollow line, also known as the Vasto car. If you've been grinding as an Adjucar, or Adjuchas as some call it, this is your next big leap. Vasto Lorde is a solid upgrade, bringing versatility and raw power to your arsenal. It's like the game's way of saying, hey, you're not quite at the pinnacle yet, but you're so close, and we're going to make you feel like a boss in the meantime. So sure, they might not be in the S-tier spotlight, but don't sleep on these races. The A-tier is stacked with options that can carry you far, and let's be real, sometimes you need a reliable backup plan that still lets you have a blast. Whether you're brawling it out in combat or strategizing your next move, these races have your back. And hey, sometimes that's all you need to stay in the game until you score that S-tier jackpot. The races in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Arrancar and Vizard. So, you're ready to level up and dominate the battlefield? Well, let's dive into the S-tier races of Paradox. These bad boys are the creme de la creme, and trust me, they're not just sitting pretty at the top. You'll need to grind hard to earn your way into this elite club, but once you do, you'll be packing some serious heat against both players and NPCs alike. First up, we have the Arrancar, the ultimate evolution of the Hollow race. Think of them as the powerhouses of the game. They've climbed the ranks from Menoscar to Adjucar, and finally to the fearsome Vastocar form. If you're looking for a race that can unleash devastating attacks while keeping your enemies on their toes, the Arrancar is your go-to. With incredible buffs and abilities, they can wipe out opponents in record time, making them a must-have for any serious player. Now, let's talk about the Vizard, the pinnacle of the Soul Reaper class. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've unlocked your Shikai, and now you get to sport that super cool Vizard mask. This race combines the powers of a Soul Reaper with those of a Hollow, giving you a unique edge in battle. The Vizard is perfect for players who love versatility and want to mix things up. Whether you're taking on foes head-to-head or strategizing from the sidelines, this race has got your back with some amazing buffs that will keep you at the top of your game. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.